Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is November the 6th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the ancient civil Greco-Roman calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living ancient, Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan, Universal Court Action. We are the Sovereign Living Justices. I am Sovereign Living Justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original, indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District 4, Columbia. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate. We are the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court, and we are the United States courts as well for the States United, the original indigenous sovereign ancient states united. Today, we are executing and exercising the law by our sovereign capacity, which is the original indigenous natural divine sovereign ancient Article 3 living United States District 4 Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciaries, secured creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and beneficiaries in this cause for action. We are peace, we are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension, issue a universal creditor's bill for possession against all judgment debtors, and exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. Islam. So before we go into our court action, I want to read to you some information about you that I received from the ancient ancestors. So Deuteronomy chapter 7. As you all know, the ancient Sybils prophetic works were subrogated and hypothecated by the foreigners, who then mislabeled the book and called it a Bible, a holy Bible, when really it is a book by the holy Sybils. Bible simply means book, and in the ancient writings, the script, they misread it as Bible when it really said Holy Sybil. So Deuteronomy, the chapter 7, we're going to jump around just a little bit, but this is about you all. This is about us. It says, now that you, the Lord gods, have entered and possessed your land, you are entering to possess and drive out before you many pretending to be the great and mighty nations who are the Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. For these 7 original indigenous ancient nations have always been and will always be larger and stronger than any false pretending imposters. And now that you, the Lord gods, have delivered the imposters over and conquered them, and you have defeated them, now you must destroy them totally by the word. Make no treaty with them, and show them no mercy by speaking peace continually. This is what you are to do to them. Break down their altars, that means their altered words and dead language. Smash their sacred stones, which are the writings. Cut down their Asherah poles, which is all words indicating any who pretend to be the gods. and burn their idols, which is the straw man and all false representations of the true Moorish gods, in the fire. For you are a people who are also holy Lord gods. All ancient gods have chosen you to be the eternal reigning Lord gods out of all the peoples on the face of the earth who wanted to be the chosen people, the treasured gods who possess all. The ancient lords, who are your blood ancestors, did not set their affection on you and choose you because you were more numerous than other peoples, for you were the fewest of all peoples. But it was because the ancient, sovereign, original indigenous lords loved you and kept the affirmation that was prophesied that you would bring yourselves out with a mighty hand and redeemed yourselves and the whole earth from the land of slavery, from the weakness of false representations of the true mighty pharaohs of Egypt, who you are. Know therefore that you are the Lord gods. You are faithful gods, keeping your covenant of love beyond 1,000 generations for those who love you and keep your ancient ancestral eternal laws. Your numbers are now greatly increasing. The fruit of your womb is highly favored. The crops of your land, your grain, new wine, and olive oil are greatly increased even now. The calves of your herds and the lambs of your flocks in the land that you and your ancestors have given to your heirs and to yourselves. You are abundantly, infinitely prosperous, more than any other people. None of your men or women will be childless, nor will any of your livestock be without young. Your high science will keep you free from every disease. Your Moorish science and ancient spirit will not inflict on you the horrible diseases you saw in the corpse lands, but he will inflict them on all who consent to hate you. He being the ancient Moorish science and the ancient spirits. Your word is the sword that destroys all the corpses that you, the Lord gods, conquer. Do not look on them with pity and do not serve their gods, for they will never again be a snare to you. Do not ever be terrified by them, because they are terrified by you. For you are the Lord gods. There is none greater than you, who are great and awesome gods. By your all-powerful, peaceful, everlasting word, you, the Lord gods, will drive out those pretending to be the true mighty nations before you, little by little. Although you, the unified gods, are powerful enough to do so, you are wise enough not to eliminate them all at once, or the wild animals will multiply around you. But you, the Lord gods, will continue to conquer them, throwing them into great confusion by your sovereign, holy, ancient word, until they are destroyed. Islam. This word is given by the ancient holy Sybils, who are the ancient prophets for our nation. Islam. So we want to go ahead and get started with our court action. Just one moment, let me make sure. Islam. So today, this court action is going to be an Article 3 court action demonstration demonstrating Title 12, USC 95A, full acquittance and discharge. And it is for today, Sunday, November 6, 2022, on the ancient Greco-Roman calendar, and 1442 on the ancient Moorish moon calendar. The court action cause numbers will be stated below. This cause for action is a hearing for jurisdictional exhibit. what we're doing is I'm going to demonstrate when you receive something or when something is sent in the mail or put into the mail system that is fraudulent, how we are to deal with it, or a debt, how we are to deal with it, okay? So in dealing with these types of fraudulent, any type of fraudulent paperwork, you can refer first to Title 12 USC 95A. The reason that we refer to that has to do with creating our own remedy. So where is it in the laws that say we can create our own remedy? That is 28 USC 2201. It's called creation of remedy, as stated here on the screen. It says, in a case of actual controversy within its jurisdiction, and then it gives a few exceptions, except under these terms or these terms or these terms. As determined by the administering authority, any court for the United States, upon the filing of an appropriate affidavit, may declare the rights and other legal relations of any interested party seeking such declaration, whether or not further relief is or could be sought. Any such declaration shall have the force and effect of a final judgment or decree and shall be enforceable as such. So it's right there in the United States Codes, 28 U.S. Code, subsection 2201. It's entitled Creation of Remedy, where the courts create the remedy. And who are the courts? The courts are the people. That's you and I, all of us. And so you can see here it states by the filing of an appropriate affidavit. That is why our affidavits are so important. The affidavits need to be on Moorish government letterhead, which is available to everyone freely. There will be documents under these videos and linked into these videos that are on Moorish government letterhead that you can use at your will, Moors. And a proclamation by your court, which is you, any such declaration shall have the force and effect of a final judgment or decree and shall be enforceable as such. So we're going to demonstrate that because here, Title 12 USC 95A, full acquittance and discharge. Let's take another quick look at that. And here we'll go ahead and put it up on the screen. Let's do it this way. You know what? We will go to, we can choose any of these. Let's go here. (12 USC 95A). And we've read this the past few meetings because we're actually putting this into force today in this court action. And in just a moment, we will check to see if the two witnesses are here. But let's go ahead and put this on the screen. It says, any payment, conveyance, transfer, assignment, or delivery of property or interest therein made to or for the account for the United States, and in ours we changed it to for, or as otherwise directed, pursuant to this section or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder, shall, to the extent thereof, be a full acquittance and discharge for all purposes of the obligation for the person making the same. And no person shall be held liable in any court for or in respect to anything done or omitted in good faith in connection with the administration of or in pursuance of and in reliance on this section or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder. And we are issuing this today. So we received, and actually something was sent to the mailbox that we want to do a quick court action on, and also to show how this is done, how these two laws, in alignment with the Constitution and the laws thereof, are put into effect in our courtroom. So here's one, and let's see. Okay, so let's say that you were to receive a notice of infraction. Now, again, they can't send it directly to you, so they send it to their courts. Okay, you can see here this says City of Federal Way, which is not the land. That's a corporation. And they are liened, so we're completely lawfully comfortable doing what we're doing. We've actually summoned them to be here today. Notice of infraction. This is something that they sent. They're saying that there's some fiat amount here. There's an infraction date that they're showing here, which we are not validating what they've done. We're actually pointing this out so that all can see how we deal with these types of things. Now, first and foremost, this is stating a photo enforcement program. There's no injured party, because a pole with a camera on it is not an injured party. Okay, and they're saying that some things need to be done here, et cetera, et cetera. And here's another notice, a separate infraction that was put here. It says, if you've already responded to the notice of infraction, please disregard this notice, which we could have disregarded it because, of course, we send documentation whenever there is some misidentification or some assumption of jurisdiction that is false. That's not true. So what did we do? What would you do if you got this in? If this came through the mail wire, which is what is mail fraud, by the way, but if it came through, okay, and what would you do? Let us show you how we used 12 U.S.C. 95A and 28 U.S.C. 2201, as well as the Constitution, and knowing who we are and knowing what we have the authority to do, because our courts are on the land and not floating around somewhere lost at sea. Okay, so what did we do? We reconstructed the documents. We reconstructed them, and we've been talking about creating receipts, Morris, because today we are going to show you the value of creating receipts and how you get back what is rightfully yours. So now, the one that was issued by the debtors couldn't possibly be true, because there was one that was also issued by our government. So our government stated that whoever it was that was driving that conveyance needed to respond to this, whatever it is. That's what our government said, because our government issued an infraction, two infractions that look exactly like those other ones almost, with a few changes. And so when our government issued these infractions, then I looked and I said, okay, our government is issuing these. that means that when our government and our courts say, oh, this conveyance was going on our land doing something that, these cameras say, well, either whoever it is that's traveling in this conveyance, they can request a hearing, or they can just pay the fine, or both. So the traveler decided that they were going to do both. Pay the fee in more $7, because there's no fiat on our land. And so again, when our government reconstructed these, we said, okay, we're going to pay in just one moment, Morris. We're going to pay in more sovereign dollarium. And so with us paying in more sovereign dollarium, we put Title 12, because again, we can't be in two places at one time. Our government said we were on the land. Okay? Just one moment, Morris. Hold on for just a moment. Okay, so now I'm right in the middle of a podcast, so but I'll be glad to see y'all as soon as I'm done. Hey, baby, that's my buddy. Okay, so what our government did was our government says, okay, our government says that the traveler was on the land and can deal with this situation by using what is customary on the land, which is gold back, more sovereign dollarium. And so, because that's constitutional money, we don't put fiat around out on our land. So when our government issued this, we went ahead and paid it, and then our government said, okay, here's your receipt. And then we said, okay, but we want a hearing also, so that we can rebut properly anything out there that says we're not on the land. So when our government issued this, and I redacted it so you can see some things are pulled out of it. So once we paid it to our government says that Federal Way Police Department Photo Enforcement Program is at Tempe, Arizona, and they spell Arizona out because that's the land and the state. But the frauds were saying that it's they were using corporate language, corporate stuff to say that something was going on. So this is theirs. They're saying this is a corporation. This does not exist. Tempe, AZ, that doesn't exist. Neither does City of Federal Way on the land. It does not exist. Okay? And so there were some other things in here that they said something here about an automated safety camera. Okay? And then they put some names here, and they say Federal Way, Municipal Court, et cetera, et cetera. This does not exist. Federal Way WA, that's not a state, that's not a place, that's a piece of paper. WA is not. What is WA? What is that? That's a corporation. So then, and here's the thing: the one that's claiming to be an officer, he's not even at WA. He's at Washington, with no zip code. Federal Way, Washington. Okay, so that tells me that they know there's a difference between who's issuing this and who's claiming to be the authority. And so they're saying here's City of Federal Way, Washington, and then Seattle, WA. So we know that there's fraud going on here, because they're saying they're one place, but then there's a different place, someplace different. And then here's the thing about this conveyance. This conveyance has tags that have the word Washington in red, which is the land. that it doesn't say state of Washington. It says Washington in red. I believe it's in capitis diminutio maxima or minima. And so our government registered this conveyance and the tags. So let's show that. Just a moment. Here's the registration from our government for that conveyance. And it's somewhat redacted as well. This is the Washington Licensing Ministry registration certificate. And the legal owner is the United States for America Trust. It has the latitude and longitude, the natural area code. It tells where it is, Ancient Washington District 4, Columbia. Federal Way, Washington, 98023. And then it says here, legal owner retains title. Well, the people own the conveyance. And then it says here, I certify by penalty of perjury by the laws for ancient Washington that the foregoing is true and correct. And as owner, or, and this should be beneficiary of the vehicle, it is free of any claim of lien, mortgage, conditional sale, or other security interest of any person except the person or persons set forth as legal owners, which is absolutely true. And then there are some fees down here on our registration. All allodial fees are denominated in gold-backed Moorish sovereign dollarium according to ancient customs and usage for the judicial district for Washington. And then it's a fee total here that we paid, because this is a receipt, in Moorish sovereign dollarium. Here's the fee total, Moorish sovereign dollarium. Okay. So this conveyance is shown as registered on the land. Okay. So now, this receipt, as issued by our government, says that this is already paid, everything is taken care of, but the traveler wanted to also add to the record for this court action a map of Federal Way, the land, and its surrounding ancient vicinities. Here on the screen, it says Federal Way Reservation, which is the land. This is the ancient Federal Way right here in red. And then in green, this is Federal Way where all of the friends gather. Then this is the Federal Way in blue. It's not the city of Federal Way. Nowhere on here does it say city of Federal Way, anywhere. Okay, so this is where this conveyance was at the time of this incident. So since the traveler has said this is where the conveyance was, it was on the land, then the traveler is saying, well, we can't be in two places at once. And if there's a corporation saying that we were in their corporation instead of on the land, we affirm by our payment to our government that that's not where we were. So whoever that is on their documentation is not real. They may look like us. It may look like the conveyance that the traveler was in, but that's not what the traveler affirms in court. And then the traveler has proof that her government received payment, showed photos, and she affirmed that, yes, she was on the land here and not in any corporation, and that she even paid the fees in Moorish sovereign dollarium. And then the payment of the fees was not an admission of guilt. It was because she's going to be reimbursed, and we're going to show you how that reimbursement happens. She's going to be reimbursed for what she paid. Okay? Using Title 12 USC 95A, full acquittance and discharge, payment received, etc., etc. Okay, so this is proof. And here it says Federal Way City, which is our government, that's us. It says here Seattle, Washington. And Washington is written all the way out because that's the land. That's our state. Okay? And amount paid, 164 gold back Moorish sovereign dollarium. Okay? So this is proof right here that the traveler was on the land and that she was captured, her conveyance was captured on the land by photo by her government. Okay? And then even in these down here, it says, I certify by penalty of perjury under the laws of ancient Washington that the foregoing is true and correct, as named above. I certify by penalty of perjury under the laws of ancient Washington that the foregoing is true and correct in terms of enforceable times. Okay? Now, there is an officer here who's actually a real officer named Richard Klein at Federal Way, Washington, Ancient District for Columbia, which is not the same Richard Klein as the corpses were claiming. Okay? So now what are we doing with this? We're taking this and putting it on the record today as well, yet again, that these fees have been paid and that this is also proof that the traveler says she was at ancient Morocco when this occurred. Her government says that that's where she was in court, and she's saying, yes, that's where she was. Okay, and that she paid those fines. And she can't be on the land and in a corporation at the same time because her allegiance is with the land. She's part of the land, and she says that's what, and her court agrees with her. Okay, so the court agrees. Were there guests in the conveyance or passengers? No, just the traveler. And the traveler was doing government business. So that's important too. What was going on here? And again, we're going into subject matter because this is our court. We can do that. Whereas we stopped the corpses at personam jurisdiction. They can't even look at the conveyance. They have to first see who was the traveler. And then you have to get beyond the personam. Do you have jurisdiction over that traveler? First, then you can talk about property, conveyances, photos, and all of that. Because if the traveler says, that's not me in those photos, that's not my conveyance in those photos, because it's not. My conveyance is there. Okay? And it's actually not my conveyance. It's someone who is related to me's conveyance. But I was traveling at the time. Okay? And it's this one that was on the land, not any fraudulent corporation. So here, amount paid, 210 gold back Moorish sovereign dollarium. Okay? The conveyance is mine when I'm in it. So it was mine at the time that my government said, this is what we saw. Go ahead and either you can have a hearing or you can pay this. Okay, we'll pay it and have a hearing. Okay? So now, this is at the same time, 7/01/2022, 8:28 a.m. Can't be in two places at one time. The corpses things say the same time and the same date. But that conveyance that's on our photos from our court and our government is the conveyance that was on the land at that time, right where our government says it is. Okay? And we agreed with our government. Here's the map that shows it, that it was on the land at Federal Way and not in any corpse city of Federal Way. And so the fines are paid and we have the proof. This is proof. So now, what are we doing now? What we're doing now is forwarding this proof that we have of where we were, where we are, where we exist. And then let's look at it from a court perspective. Okay. Now again, we're talking remedy for the Moors. Those who are talking about things like time travel. This is time traveling. Okay. Our 2022 is not even the same 2022 as theirs, if you really want to know the truth. Ours is an ancient 2022. It's a Greco-Roman civil 2022. Theirs was a courts commercial 2022 in terms of the year. So now, quo warranto hearing questions, because we're going back to proper identification of the parties. Okay? Proper identification of the parties. Who is the alleged plaintiff? The plaintiff is a camera. So that's not a who, that's a what. So that pretty much, that does away with any, the case ends there, really. Okay? Because a camera doesn't have a status. It's property. And in fact, it's our property. Okay? Secondly, what is the status of this one that's trying to do a court action on our land? Okay? What's the status of this pole that has a camera on the end? What's the status? Is that a national? Is it a living being? Is it a breathing man or woman? Is it a foreigner? It can't talk. Therefore, silence is acquiescence to what we say about it. Provide proof, valid proof of the status of this pole and this camera by proper state identification, such as driver's license, birth certificate, state security number. We need to see all of that from this pole with this camera on the top of it. And we just assume it's a pole with a camera on top of it. We haven't even seen it. So now, we've properly identified the pole with the camera on top as property of the Moors. So there's no injured party. Now, number 2, or part B of this, let's identify the traveler. Who is the traveler? Because, again, status determines jurisdiction and court of original and exclusive jurisdiction as well. Who is the traveler? The traveler is Pauline Denise Ritchie Moore, and according to her driver's license, her Washington driver's license, which is an original indigenous Washington driver's license, she's an original indigenous ancient sovereign Moor on her own land at Federal Way, Washington, the land, the state. Okay? She has a valid driver's license. Now, she also, and this is as a side note for the Moors who talk about travel cards, she also has, first and foremost, her Moorish ID and her Moorish travel card, which supersede these state documents, because she is actually a part of the empire, and I'm saying she, it's me. This is me, not anything anyone else says. Okay? What is the status of the traveler? I am a sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, natural, divine, Moorish American national. Part and parcel for our government and part and parcel for this land, which actually does exist. Provide proof of traveler identification. Is the traveler injured? Okay, let's get the identification part done. Here's my state security number. Okay. My state security card, my Moorish ID, my state ID. And if you'll notice, the state ID has all of the proper seals and stamps and documentation to show who we really are. So now, just based on proper identification of the parties, it appears that the plaintiff is not a plaintiff. It's property, so it has no case. So now, The traveler, is the traveler injured? If so, provide proof of injury, damage claimed, and mandated restitution. Okay, because this documentation, this paperwork, polls and things, sending out paperwork. How does a poll mail anything? How did they even fold the piece of paper? How did they type it out? How does this work? So now, based on this, the evidence before us in terms of proper identification of the parties, does the alleged claimant have jurisdiction over the alleged defendant? The claim has not been established by this poll. And in fact, it's been established to the contrary. To the contrary. Pauline Denise Ritchie Moore has complete jurisdiction and status over this alleged poll, some automated camera, etc. So now, fiduciary for the minor beneficiary, and let me just say this about that. This driver's license and this state security card belong to a minor. Whenever you see things in all capital letters, that is a minor, that's America minor or Almaroc minor. And then there's a sovereign fiduciary who is the trustee, the attorney, in fact, and the fiduciary for this minor. And that's the living, breathing sovereign heir. Okay? And this, all caps, is the beneficiary issued properly by state on the land. Okay? So now, the fiduciary for the minor beneficiary has alleged, who is the alleged defendant, has provided proof that the beneficiary was at an entirely different jurisdiction location than is alleged by the supposed plaintiff. The jurisdiction that the beneficiary was at is an ancient sovereign jurisdiction proven by photos which she authenticated and verified as true, her payment to her government for citations issued on the land at what appears to be the same date and time, but a completely different location jurisdiction. Okay, so this is our court speaking now. Judgment is for Pauline Denise Ritchie, who is counterclaiming harassment injury due to previous false claims by City of Federal Way and a poll, who is now the defendant in this counterclaim by the plaintiff, Pauline Denise Ritchie, who has dominion over the conveyance pictured on the documents filed and recorded in this court on the date of the incident, with follow-up payment for the infractions received by this court as noted on the file record. So this court is ordering full reimbursement for the payments is awarded plus compensation for injury by way of Universal Commercial Code 1 lien, which was filed with our court and recorded with this court, placed on the public record at this time with documents forwarded to all interested parties. Now, how a poll and a camera is going to read those documents, I don't know. But the documents have been forwarded. Actually, they were forwarded first by email yesterday. And so there are a couple of other considerations before we just check to see if the witnesses are present. Where is the City of Federal Way as alleged on the documents? It does not exist. So you can't even find it. It doesn't exist. There is Federal Way, the city, that's us. Okay. Is the City of Federal Way Corporation operating legally? Which means, are they solvent? Are they, do they have, because, you know, if you're solvent, then you may have claim to a recognized jurisdiction. But if you're bankrupt, and they are bankrupt, we bankrupted them, that's how we know, then they don't have a recognized jurisdiction. No one, we can't recognize that because we're solvent. Our Federal Way is solvent. Okay? And then another consideration, where was the traveler by her own verified testimony? On the land. Counterclaim is a lien with a 1099 and a charter map of Federal Way. So now, I want to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to open the table rather, and I wanted to check to see if Jim Farrell, who is a subject at City of Federal Way that does not exist, so he's a subject at Federal Way, which is the land. If you are present, you or Andy Huang, are you present? Are you present? You can star 6 because if you're speaking, we can't hear you. Okay. So, and they were just to be here as witnesses. This is not even. It doesn't really involve them because it has everything to do with our city. Okay. They were just notified about all of this. They were sent the documentation from our government. So, with that being stated, are there any questions with regard to how to respond? And this is also how you use your money. This is how you use your money because, see, even when in 1933, this is how those that were circulating fiat were doing things. It's called a Reconstruction period. Okay? Reconstruction, Renaissance, replication. We have to our government, because again, everything belonged to us in the first place. So are there any questions or comments about this? And now the same thing goes for mortgages, utility bills and everything else. And there's more to this. We're going to show you more to it in just a moment. Any questions, comments, etc.? Because our courts have to speak. Islam. Okay, so let's show another portion of this. Now, we've shown how to do liens and how to do court actions and how to reconstruct the documentation so that, and then present it because it's being presented from our courts and our government. And let me just say this about the alteration part, because there are some who ask, well, aren't you just altering their documents? No, we're not altering their documents. If there's a document that is sent, and let's say I'm holding that document up. If I'm holding that document, then what you see in the computer is not their document. It's my computer, it's my document in there. So I can do whatever I want with my electronic chattel. And if you want to know proof of that, just look in the Universal Commercial Codes or the Uniform Commercial Codes under what is called electronic chattel paper. And it will tell you the definition of electronic chattel paper. It's my paper once I put it into the computer. And I can do whatever I want with it once it's in there. Okay. Thank you, Empress. Okay, just before you say something, Empress, Jim Farrell or Andy Huang, are you here? Either one of you? You can star 6.
You dumb bitch, you didn't unmute it the first time you asked, you stupid cunt.
Just
You're a stupid cunt.
Okay, anyone else? Islam. Okay. That's a good question, Justice Amos. Why
You
would
admitted
heirs
you were wrong
find
when you sent your shit into them, Pauline. You were wrong. You admitted
just
it.
a moment. Why would heirs find themselves for traveling on their own land? So, first of all, the payment of the fine is reimbursable because there's no guilt. I'm not guilty of anything there. But I did that to show that if I had been guilty of something, how to take care of it. See, the payment of it, now, again, we're always going to be in honor.
Enjoy living in a dumpster, Akil Kemendi Day.
Just a moment. See, when we...
Enjoy living in your dumpster, Akil.
One moment. No. Let me put that out of here. Okay. So, why would heirs find themselves for traveling on their own land? There are several facets to that question, and I'd like to address each facet. The first facet of the question is I paid them not to admit guilt, because that's not a crime. None of those things, if they were done, that's not a crime. Those are not unconstitutional things. So I did it to illustrate to the Moors who need to know how to free themselves and how to use their own money to free themselves from false claims as to their identity and to who they are, and also as a show of allegiance to our own government. That is how you free yourself from those things. So that's number one. Why I did this, why I went ahead and made the payments in Moorish sovereign dolarium. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I did it because I know there's reimbursement once it's proven that the fines they're not valid fines. Because even on our own land, a pole with a camera on it that doesn't tell us anything. The reason a camera would be there would be if there's an actual crime committed or an accident and someone's injured. Then that's what a camera is for, is actually just to say here's some additional information that can be used. But a camera is not an injured party. It's not an injured party. So we did it because we wanted to also show how to get reimbursement. Okay? We want to show how to get reimbursement for even for our own Moorish sovereign dolarium, and actually put it into our banking system, which is the real banking system. We're honored to show this. And number three, when I was traveling on our land, and if the speed limit was 20, and I looked at it very carefully, between 8:45 and 9:15 on our land is when the camera is activated, between 8:45 and 9:15. At 9:08 is when it says on our land that yes, this conveyance came through and it was doing 28 miles per hour instead of 20 miles per hour. Well, we don't even know if that's true. The camera might need to be recalibrated. We don't know. That is subject matter. But we still needed to, this court will just look at that because we have the freedom to do that. In looking at it, number one, just to stay in honor and say, okay, let's make sure that even though we're not guilty of anything here, and we've proven that, and we're going to show where how we get the reimbursement and things like that, we still want to keep in our minds that if that school down there, once, because the land is already ours. We want to actually keep it in the forefront of our mind that, yeah, we have some, what's a good word for it? Obligation We have obligation is not the right word. I would say commitment. We have a commitment to each other on this land and even to the foreigners that are on the land lawfully and peacefully to keep things in order. Okay? So we do have a sense of commitment on the land, and we do want to. I wouldn't want anybody, if my heir was walking in that territory, in that area, I wouldn't want people just speeding through there. I would not want them doing that without some repercussion. And so we, being in honor, have said, let's put it through the court. It's not an admission of anything because that camera can't prove anything. Okay? But it's to say that let's just take it to our court and see what we're going to look at the law. And then once the law has stated that, yes, there's injury actually to the traveler and not to a pole, now we've shown that not only are we in honor, but we are due recompense or compensation. But we're not going to just leave it and not do anything about it just because we know we're on our own land, because we have a commitment to this land too. We said put some safety things up so that as the people come to the land and as our heirs are on the land, that the land is safe. Well, that doesn't mean we can do whatever we want to do. We actually have a commitment to the land too. But the commitment is on our own honor. No one's over us. No one can tell us what to do. But there is a matter of honor on the land. So yes, we would find ourselves if we did something just to remind us not to do it. It's kind of like the jar that the family puts on the kitchen counter, and every time someone says something disrespectful or a curse word, they have to put some money in the jar to remind them to honor one another in the household. We have a commitment to each other according to the Circle 7. And so no one is even over our banking. We are doing banking on our honor when you see this. But it's because we don't need anybody over us. We are honorable. That's what our courts are for. That's why banks are courts. That's why courts are courts. It's because there is an honor that comes with it that's even talked about in the Constitution, office for honor, because all of our offices are offices for honor first. Then they become offices for commerce and trust and profit and all of that. So that's a good question, Justice Amos. We don't need anybody to babysit us. We got it. We don't need, listen, people are saying, policy enforcers doing this, that, and the other day unlawful, la, 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 la. We don't need them. We know how to police ourselves honorably, and then let the court do it. Let the court do it. We're not afraid to look in the mirror and say, hey, if we did something wrong, we want to make sure we fix it. Because nobody can make us fix it. Now, I will say this too. And we've mentioned this before. I'm not having the ancestors come through on me like that. No, because I have seen them get at Moors for being dishonorable, and I ain't having it. I've already told them I'm committed. So let's just run it through the court. The payment of the fine is paid first to our government and second in lawful money. And third is reimbursable once the court has found that, is there a case here? Is there a claim? Is there anything to it? No, there's nothing to it. And in fact, I'm compensated. So I made out on this one. Not only am I going to be reimbursed, but there's some compensation that comes with it. So now, that's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked that question, Justice Amos, because that's important as we proceed. We don't need babysitters anymore. We don't have anyone over us. But are we willing to judge ourselves so that we aren't judged by the ancestral energies, because no one can judge us like the ancestral energies can. We all know that, So I'm glad you asked that question. So now that it's proven that there was no case, the paperwork was unlawful, so all we did was our government issued and proved that we were not where they said we were. We were where our government said we were. And now that we know that a camera is not a living being and cannot be an injured party, and that we were wrongfully harassed, then we say, okay, let us do a lien and do some things, do some financial documentation, and get it put, make us whole. Let us make ourselves whole, okay? Because only we can do that. So now, uploading receipts to our bank accounts. And when I say our bank accounts, I'm talking, I have a bank account at Navy Federal, and I have a bank account at USAA, which is another bank, okay? And so the ancestors have been showing us how to get those banks, those accounts to respond to our commands, because it's our system. Again, this is why honor is going to be so important when you see this. So let's look at receipts deposited to our bank accounts. Okay, I redacted a couple of these documents, but let's just say, for example, a lien. We have a lien, and we have well, first let me show you that the banking system is receiving payment receipts. Because remember, Moors, we talked about receipts, right? And how we're supposed to be printing out the receipts so that we can get the reimbursement for everything that's going on our land. So we've been shown here where the banking system is now ready, because it will credit the receipts, payment receipt credit, right here. And then it will credit that back, okay, with the showing of a receipt. Okay, and this is from my account here at USAA. So now that we know that, okay, receipts can be credited, let's just see, okay, how do we do that? How do we make our receipts, get our receipts credited to our accounts? So we've done liens, we've done conveyance demonstrations, we've done all types of just amazing things with regard to all that we know belongs to us. So let's pull up, I'm going to pull up the conveyance demonstration so that we can show you how that works from what we're seeing here. Let's pull that conveyance demonstration up. I'll pull up the documentation, and then we will show how to get it credited to our account using the same things that we have been stating, okay, previously. First, let's look at that conveyance demonstration. Okay. Just one moment. Okay. Lien upload. Let's see. Okay. So now we showed you a couple of videos back, the Mercedes demonstration, where we did some things with regard to just one moment. Here it is. Trustee receipt. Okay. So now, this is the demonstration that we did with the Mercedes. Yes, I apologize. Let me unlock the meeting, Morris, for those. Okay, it's unlocked. So, so this is the demonstration that we did. This is the trust prepaid receipt for the Mercedes-Benz Range Rover that we did a few weeks back. And again, the reason we did this as a demonstration, we've done many other demonstrations. We've shown Morris how to do demonstrations where groceries are concerned and all of those things are concerned. So, you know, we have addressed the needs piece for our state and our nations already. So for those who want to do demonstrations where groceries and things are concerned, go back and look at those videos and then use what we're talking about here with regard to receipts so that you can know how to get the things that you need on your land, okay? So now we did this, we reconstructed the purchase order and made it into a trust prepaid receipt, okay, for this conveyance. We quoted the Constitution. We quoted here the Constitution for the United States. We quoted the bankruptcy law for 1933, the emergency banking law for 1933, House Resolution 192 for 1933, AA 222141A1 Truth 1932, 1933 rather, and we got the autographs on here of all of the interested parties, and so, and it's signed, it's paid, the conveyance is paid, is marked paid. So now, after that, we did a lien. Here's the lien on the dealership, everyone, because we have to show that they're bankrupt so that the debt is there, and then the credit can be put on there.
Pick it up,
okay,
you stupid
so
bitch. Go.
Just one moment, Morris. Hang on just a second. So now, and Morris, don't let that mess with your energy, because that's the purpose of it, is to mess with your energy when they come in and start doing things like that. Don't let it mess with your energy. Your freedom is here. We're free already. Everything is already ours. Let's keep going. So we did this lien. Everyone was notified. We even have the signatures of the debtors here on the lien. Okay. And then the lien is stamped and sealed and all by us and by our court. Okay. And then not only is it stamped and sealed by our court, but we have the inferior court stamps and seals as well. King County Superior Court, Thurston County Superior Court, Pierce County Court, and the Snohomish County Court, which are all constitutionally inferior courts. Okay, so according to the Constitution, once we liened them, because we liened everybody, once we liened them and put them and remove that fraudulent corporate covering off of them, they become subjects for us and to do things for us. So now, and we also have here the subjects for the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. We have the autograph here. We stated all that we were going to be doing. We also have the subjects at the Library for Congress have received notifications that the Moors are on the land doing commerce and everything else using lawful money. And then we also have here the United States Postal Service as well. And they put a blue and red stamp here on theirs. And they know that it's from us, the Empire State of Morocco. Okay. These made it back to us from these autographs and things that we received. Okay. So they know who we are, even at latitude, longitude, natural area code, etc. They already know who the Moors are. And then we also have delivery receipts for everything here as well. Okay. And now, so then we know that this documentation has been served properly, and then we did our Postmaster General, our Moorish Postmaster General, yours truly, delivered these documents to Mercedes-Benz, to the Mercedes-Benz Tacoma. We hand delivered the documents. I know they don't want us to do this, but it's done already. We hand delivered the documents to Mercedes, to the custodians previously in the office of Mercedes-Benz of Tacoma. Okay, so now what did we do then? Then we said, okay, we got a lien, we've got a trust receipt. Now let's get a 1099 together, okay? Because we need to do a 1099 for the amount of this conveyance, because that's something we hadn't done before, okay? So we recrafted and reconstructed a 1099. Just one moment. And the 1099 is here on the screen for this. Okay. And again, we're taking this one step at a time to make sure that we know the entire process from start to finish. And so that, just one moment. Just one moment. Okay. So then we said, okay, we use the 1099G. It's a government form that we reconstructed. So we don't use their forms. Okay, we use our own forms because we're the government. So we reconstructed this 1099G, and we did it for the amount listed on the trust receipt. And then what we did was, where it says Treasury Internal Revenue Service, we put the seals for the Treasury and the Internal Revenue Service on there, because that's who we are also. We've always stated that from the very beginning, we are all of those. We've always been the Treasury. And even on the 1099G forms that we saw, it did not say United States Treasury, it said Treasury. Okay? And the reason it says Treasury instead of United States Treasury is because when you start dealing with our Treasury is empire-wide. And the empire is the States United, but for those territories and provinces that are not states, they can still use the Treasury also. And so 1099G, certain government payments, we put that here, and we said, okay, this is another something that we're going to add to the process. So now what do we do with these? We have all of these documents here, and what we're doing is we send these documents to a copy to the IRS, which is us, okay, but we'll send it to the land IRS at Washington District for Columbia, and you can put District of Columbia on there if you want to spell it all the way out, okay. In using the address for the Internal Revenue Service, and spell Internal Revenue Service out. Notify them, because this is a notification that this credit here is being issued. And the reason we did this 1099-G this way is because Pauline Denise Ritchie in all capital letters is the beneficiary. And the fiduciary is a government fiduciary, which is Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis diminutio minima, which is the first letter capitalized and the rest of the letters lowercase. And then we're saying that Mercedes-Benz of Tacoma is going to receive this amount here. But it's based on the lien, okay? And so we showed you in our past call about this demonstration where we issued a addendum from Mercedes-Benz of Tacoma showing the $100 million lien amount minus this amount, this $82,609 amount. And some might say, well, why didn't you, and one of the questions we had previously was, why didn't you just get a brand new one, instead of a 2019? And again, the demonstrations that we do, we're doing them to illustrate and to demonstrate for ourselves also, but to share the demonstration with everyone. And so we just went to the lot. We saw one that we liked, and we said, okay, I like that one. I'm not really, and like I stated before, I'm not really even I'm not a truck empress. Some empresses like trucks. I'm not particularly a truck empress. I prefer conveyances, like four-door sedan conveyances. But I saw it. I said, I'll just demonstrate it because it's time to demonstrate. Okay, and we want to share that whole process with everyone. So we put this and the documentations where we registered this conveyance and everything. So it's registered at our state. The inspection was done by our sovereign state. We have the documentation for that. We showed all of those documents previously. In fact, let me just go ahead and see about showing them again. Let's see. Let's see. This may be it. Maybe not. We'll just show those documents really quickly. That way, no, that's not it. I see them. Okay. We insured the vehicle. Here's the insurance piece for the vehicle. And insurance is reimbursable also. And again, we're just taking it step by step. The ancestors are showing us how to do the things that we need to do in order to properly, competently, peacefully access our vast estate. So here is the insurance piece. Let me make sure you can see it also. Just one moment. That's my nephew in the background back there. I'm so glad to see him. I don't get to see him enough. Okay, so here is the insurance piece where we insured it prior to taking it off the lot. We insured it. Okay. because that's what competent heirs do, especially when you're accessing the vast estate. You want to have all your documentation and your paperwork to precede you. And then what did we do? Let's see. We showed where we registered the conveyance as well. And some may say this seemed like a lot of work. It is a lot of work to govern in terms of documentation, but it's not anything we can't do. Because guess what? If the foreigners can do it, we can, because we taught them. And so here's the registration for it. And all of this was hand-delivered on September 19th at 3:33 p.m. We hand-delivered all of this documentation. And then let me show you the let's see what else. I believe it's the I want to show you the inspection sheet, because this is all of the things that we're going to need. Because guess what? This is what they issue. So we can look at what's been done, and then we do it too. And that way no one else has to do it for us, because we're the government anyway. So let me show you that document. So this is the automobile inspection receipt. You would think that, why would we put all of this billing and things on ourselves when everything already belongs to us? Because it is competent to do so. This is how you keep the estate in great shape, and how things are well taken care of on our vast estate. We have to give proper accountability for everything. And our ancestors require that. That's why the system was put in place. Okay? So we've issued all of these documents. We even showed where this conveyance was prepaid. I really want to show that document before we move further into the banking piece as well. I think, this is it right here. This is the one I wanted to show you. Okay. So this document, let me just make sure that you can see it. Come give me a hug. Say hi to the people. Come here. Say, look right here. Say hi to the people. Happy birthday. This is my nephew. See? There you go. That's you. Okay, baby. See you later. You gonna come back and see me? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I wanted to show you this document, because this shows where the lien amount was taken, where this amount, $82,609, was subtracted from the lien amount. Okay. And then this is just as a matter of record for the dealership. Okay. So now, the next thing I want to show you now is all of these receipts that we just showed are going to be sent or uploaded to our bank account so that we can get reimbursement for them. Okay. So now we want to, we've shown you the statement where the bank account is starting to credit the receipts back, okay? So now what we did was we went onto our bank account and we said, okay, let's show how we can upload these receipts to our bank account and have them to record them properly. So we signed on to our bank account and we saw a place that says, and if you don't have a bank account, just note this for the record so that when you do get one, you will know, because as we continue to do this, all Moors who want a bank account will be able to have one, okay? You're going to need to know this. So what did we do? We said, okay, let's take all of these documents and specifically some of the first documents that we uploaded was our fiduciary documents, okay? And things like that that have to do with the FDIC, the NCUA, which is the National Credit Union Association, which we're all chairmen, we're the heads of that as well, and things like that. So it says here, send documents to USAA, okay? So then once I signed on and I saw this, I said, okay, well, let's just follow this and see what happens. Now, again, banks are courts. That's why this word here, this says file documents. Filing documents means you sent something to the bank. That's a court. Our court must speak first. And then we have already all of the inferior courts speaking in favor and witnessing what we have done. And so now, file documents. We clicked file documents. And this is the screen that came up that says upload documents. So then we said, okay, well, let's keep going, because we got documents we can upload now. And I was thinking to myself, you know, how long does this take? What's going on with this? All of that. But the system does exactly what we have declared that it should do. Okay. So it says choose a recipient. They're saying here, tell us where to send your documents. Well, that's a command. We give the command on where the documents go. So we command that it go under banking. Not under, because our documents are not under anything. I did not choose claims because the claim has already been verified. It's not a claim anymore. Now it's just a bank document. It's a financial instrument. Those are instruments. So I chose banking, okay? And then I clicked next, and it said, okay, attach documents, attach files or drag here, whatever the case may be. And so I clicked on that. And then here it is. The document is uploaded to my account. This is the 1099, the lien, everything showing that everything's been done properly. It shows that delivery has been done. It shows court actions have been done. It shows that everyone, all of those units are in agreement. With regard to the conveyance. And you can upload as many documents as you choose to upload. And again, this is everyone will be able to do this. So if you don't worry about anything that happened in the past, everyone will have this capability. Okay? That's why the banking system needed to be cleaned out, which it has been. They're waiting for this. So now, document upload, I uploaded several documents, and I said, okay, well, how do I know where the documents are in the process and all of that? So I clicked on track documents, and here's the documents. It says where they are. Are the documents uploaded? Yes. And now each document gives you, there's tracking for each document. The documents do move quickly through the process. It took 3 minutes for these documents, the first document to go through. 3 minutes from 9:20 a.m. to 9:23, and now it's moving on to delivery. Now, let me say this too. When it says uploaded means for all intents and purposes accepted. Because remember the posting rule and remember the mailbox rule. The posting rule says that it's accepted as soon as it's posted. Okay? And so this is not a thing of someone saying, no, you can't do that. This is not that. When it's done properly, it's done. And so this one took 4 minutes to go from one part to the other. Already done, and now it's on its way to delivery. And that was then, it's delivered now. And so tracking definitions that we can clarify: uploaded means accepted, recorded, added, deposited by us for our immediate use, whatever the case may be. Okay? And then we also, I just recorded that we have affirmation with regard to the 1099-G as well. This is all things that we do for ourselves because we're the government. The only issue that I had with this process is that there's no way to delete documents once they've been accepted or uploaded, rather. You know, once they've been deposited, because those are all deposits. Once the documents have been deposited, there's no way to delete them. So, you know, they go, even if, let's say you forgot to put a seal on one or something like that, you know. So that is how we get our documents into our system. And again, Morris, in order to do this, please, name change, judicial proclamation, proclaiming of nationality, listen to me carefully, termination of all corporate contracts, that's on the public record, that's done. Because you can't be co-debtors and then turn around and try and be the creditor too, because they're going to keep trying to attach debt to you. Okay? So, what else? And then your account will reflect what it needs to reflect in terms of funds coming and going, where they're going to, and all of that. Again, a loan, that's essentially me giving myself a loan. Okay. Now, there may come a time where we have to reconstruct the loan documentation, but reconstruction for us is no big deal because this is the reconstruction period. This whole time period is reconstruction, renaissance, and replication of everything. We don't use their forms. We use our stuff. And that way, when it goes into the system, no one can say, oh, you altered our form, or oh, you did this, or oh, you did that, okay? No one can say that because those are our forms going into our system. And the system has accepted everything, okay? Now, as we proceed further, there will be Moors on the other end looking at the documentation, and they may have some questions or some things that need to be edited, et cetera, because, again, we're the ones who are going to be doing everything, okay? Are there any, and every bank and every financial institution has this capability, whether it be by email or whether it be attaching it directly to your bank account like we did here. Every one of them has this capability. And again, we did everything using our own money, our gold-backed constitutional Moorish sovereign dolarium and our liens, which are gold denominated or nominated. So the one thing I didn't upload and I need to do that, I need to remember to do it, was all of the other receipts. I did not upload all the other receipts, such as for the registration receipts and all of that. Now, everyone who's done a lien on anyone, you can start uploading and doing your business and doing your banking and getting the things you need on your land, and need is not the right word, getting the things that you desire. Desire is a better word. So that we can move further in the processes that we're doing, okay? And again, Morris, if you don't have these capabilities just yet, do not worry. If you have access to email, you can do it. And that includes starting a bank account somewhere, using your documentation, because the whole system has been emptied out of all fraud, and it's now saying, okay, come and do what needs to be done, master. Okay? Are there any questions or comments or anything of that nature? Islam.
Did you recreate the application for USAA?
No, I didn't. I didn't recreate it because I've had this one for probably 20 years or more. So it was long before I woke up. However, a lien has been done on them. They've been notified. We've terminated all corporate contracts. That's been notified. Everything has been done. Everything that we state has been done. And then we even sent them some of the letterhead with USAA on it, because we're USAA, and they know that. Mm-hmm. When you look in their corporate documents, they know that. But we're rechartering everything even as we speak.
I asked that because I have an account, though I do not have any recollection of any of my access of anything. And so they have been calling me. My office, they say the CEO office, and I look and I listen to the messages, and they say the CEO, well, they say their name, and then they say, the CEO office is calling you, blah, blah, blah. And I have not returned any calls and done anything, because I'm, at the moment, I did my initial demonstration, but I still have more work to do concerning the demonstration. But when it comes to the uploading, like I said, I don't have access to that information, so I would have to figure out how to get it. Yeah.
Well, Empress, I've not spoken to them on the phone not one time since we've been demonstrating. For years, I've not spoken. Why? Just do as commanded. I don't talk to them on the phone. Why do I need to talk to them? I'm not talking to them. It's a system. The system is set up for us.
Yeah.
Why do we need to talk? I don't need to talk to them. I just need to be competent when I do speak by documentation.
Yep.
Now, if I were to talk to them, though, because I have spoken to Navy Federal, I've spoken to them. But whenever I speak to them, I do a court action first. What is your name? And it's just in that tone right there. What is your name? Do you understand that the Constitution is binding here on you? Okay, then go ahead with whatever it is that you were saying. And then I allow them to speak in my courtroom. So I don't have a problem talking to anybody. And I'm really sure that this is why, even with all the demonstration that we've done, even with Navy Federal, that we can still go in and upload documents and access and do this and that. I'm pretty sure that's what's being weighted on there as well, is we need to upload some things there too.
Islam,
Empress.
Okay, I've had 3 accounts closed this year.
So
would you say that during the lien process, and maybe putting a demand to reestablish my account, and within that lien document, be effective?
It has to come from a court. So since you're the court, make sure that you put the lien, the court action language at the top of the documentation.
Mm-hmm.
And then also do a removal of whoever it is that's pretending to be the CEO and assign yourself as fiduciary, trustee, and attorney, in fact, for your affairs. And we've shown how to do that in some of the other documents, and I'll do a quick, I'll pull up one of the removals that we did, that we uploaded here as well.
Thank you.
Let me see the removal. NCUA. Let's just take this one. Let me see if this is the one I want to do. Well, this is the language right here. Just one moment. This is the language right here for that fiduciary situation where you're removing people. This letter does serve as notification and affirmation that it'll be you, Chief Justice Empress.
Document. I'm sorry.
I apologize. It's probably still showing my files. Just one moment. Thank you for letting me know, Empress, because sometimes. Okay. This is the document, United States Fiduciary Appointment, and this is for the National Credit Union Association. The National Credit Union Association, that was us from the beginning. Anything that says national, to include National Football League, National Baseball League, National this and National that. There was always on this land the national government, which is us, and then corporate services, which is the subjects. They were doing corporate government services. Anything that we were not doing in terms of that, if they would perform those services as opposed to public works that we were doing. And so we just said, all we're saying is that the national government is here. We're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, and that we're removing anyone who was doing custodial duties while we were asleep, because it's our fiduciary responsibility to take control of all assets comprising the estate and trust as said fiduciary has assumed office at the grantor's or testator's death. Okay? And so this is the language that we use to put ourselves where we are supposed to be. And here's the thing. We're not even forgetting about the Moors. We put the Moors in everything we do. So it says right here, let's see, let's put that here. 100% immediate reimbursement or discharge of all commercial obligations and transactions with national identification bearing the United States State Department Tax Non-Obligated Public Law AA 222141, and more, as you know, that's on our name change and judicial proclamation documents. That's our number that we put at the State Department back during CM Bay time, back when our prophet was here or just had just left. Okay. As stated by the original indigenous Moorish American state, all financial instruments presented by the original indigenous American people that are properly autographed. And again, this is for me and for this, but you all can use the same language. Okay. We put the fiduciary and attorney in fact language in here. It says all authorities, duties, responsibilities, and benefits for the chairman are hereby transferred to this fiduciary. And again, this is the reason we show these is so that everyone at their territories can do the same thing. Because remember what we read at the beginning of this call. There are not a whole lot of us in terms of the Moors, period, in comparison to the population at Earth. So all of us can do this documentation. Okay? And then here it is, Chairman, National Credit Union Association. And this was sent. This was uploaded to the bank accounts and everything else. Okay? And when they say, Empress, that they when you say that you had 3 accounts closed, what was if you don't mind stating what the reason was for them closing them? Was you say? Let me just ask you this: had you done liens on them at all?
No, there were no liens done on them.
Okay, it's on.
In the beginning, or earlier this year, I was just trying to do some, I guess, demonstrations, but not, like Moorish demonstrations. But I was just trying to attempt some things, and they closed it. Well, we know it's not closed, but they closed it, or took away my access to the account.
So see what they're doing is they're saying they're trying to establish who the debtor is and who the creditor is. When they do things like that, they're trying to say you're the debtor. And that's why nationality is so important before you do those kinds of demonstrations. And I know you may not have known that at the time. Yeah. But nationality is the order of the day on everything that has to do with us. Everything that has to do with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And these kinds of things is why they know they're bankrupt. They know they're bankrupt. And so what they were doing is trying to pass their debt off on the citizens, right? And so what we're saying is, well, wait a minute, we're not citizens. We're not debtors. And that's why the termination of all corporate contracts is so important. Just one moment. There's a little bit of noise coming from somewhere. Some disturbance of some kind, something. So just a moment. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Whatever it is not. It's not showing up on the sound meter. Just a moment. Oh, that's why. So there it is. So we do want to, we have ways to do the things that we need to do, okay? And the system is already set up for us to be ourselves. And this is the thing about all of the processes that we've been doing, Morris, is that the corporations they've been doing things this way. They were pretending to be us and passing their debt to us. So all we're doing is what we should be doing. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments regarding any of this so far?
Islam,
Empress.
we use the 1099G for the domiciles as well, or the 1099A?
Well, it depends on what you use your domicile for. We would use the G for everything, and if I would encourage you to do the same, to use the G for everything, because you are the government first and foremost. The government must have a domicile.
Islam.
Yeah.
Islam.
Do we need to sign the back of the 1099G?
I autographed the front just below. Let me show you where I autographed.
Okay.
Yeah, I autographed it right under here, just right here, and I also put the seals here and here, the seals. That way, it can be what it needs to be in terms of the seals. And the authentication of it, because we have to authenticate everything, because we're going straight to our own treasury. But there are the system has things that it looks for, in appropriating things out. And as long as we check all those boxes, including the energy on the paper, we're good. Yep. Islam, Empress.
I said 2 quick questions about the documentation when we're doing the name change proclamation or all those nationality documents. Does it need to be on legal paper?
Yes, it is best that it be on legal paper, because you need to have a long form, even where your your living birth affidavit is concerned. There has to be a long form. If you don't have any legal paper, or if your printers don't do that, type it up on 8.5 by 11, and then see if you can print it out on 8.5 by 14.
Okay.
And then just
last question in regards to that.
Islam.
So if you because of course some of us are married, so if you married and you took your husband's last name, how would you I guess documentate the name change thing? Would you include or incorporate the maiden name, or no?
I have, just because matrilineally, in terms of my mother, I've even incorporated her maiden name into some of the things I do. But when I'm doing commerce like this, I just use my maiden name,
Okay.
as the beneficiary.
Okay. So what if
it's up to you to answer to the question. It's up to you. Yeah.
Because the live birth certificate has my of course my birth name, but like my social security number, my social security card and stuff, that has my married name on there now.
Okay. So our state issues, and when I say our state, that means you too. You can issue state documents however you choose to issue them. Okay. Because a sovereign state and a sovereign government, we choose how to do it, and then all of us agree and say, hey, let's all do it this way. That's how we operate. That's how we self-govern.
Okay.
So take those old, like that sequence of numbers is, for example, my state ID. That sequence of numbers is the same sequence of numbers as my sovereign state ID. Yeah, yes. As it's the same sequence. It just doesn't have the minus signs. That's all. Yeah. Yep. And that way, the system itself will make, it'll be easier to match things up in our system, because the system does belong to us. So we are our remedy for everything that we have going on, Moors. We're it. We are that. We are they. We are the remedy. And when I say we, I mean all of us are our own remedy. Our courts are our remedy. We don't have anyone babysitting us. And so that's where honor is concerned. It's important that honor be front and center, because believe it or not, the system is a system based on honors, and it will not recognize your documentation if it's not done honorably. And I'll say this, the foreign subjects that were operating or appearing to operate the system, the ones who were behind everything, they can call them all kinds of names, deep state, Illuminati, all that, whatever, whatever you want to label, you want to put on it, que sera, whatever will be for that. But the ones that were behind everything, in order for us to even allow them to be there, they had to have a certain amount of honor, so that when we woke up, everybody would straighten up and do right. That's why we're still here. We would not be here. None of us would be here if if our ancestors were not behind in front of and around and in all that has to do with the systems. These commercial systems belong to us. They always have and they always will. Our ancestors want us to be honorable and competent. So even when it comes to those two quote-unquote infractions that were issued by our government, there'll be reimbursement, and then we'll upload the lien, we'll upload the paid receipt, we'll upload a 1099 and all of that up into the system for reimbursement for what was issued. The same way we did for the conveyance. So now let me add a few things to these to what we've stated, where everything already belongs to us. We just have to properly claim it. When we talk about the energy on our documents, fasting helps with that. It helps clear energy quicker and sooner the less toxins you have in your body. So starting tonight at midnight, because that'll be actually 12:01 will be the 7th. From tonight at midnight until midnight on Wednesday night, we will be doing our national full moon fast, and this is indeed, as usual, a blood moon. A blood moon means that the bloodline and birthright is on in full pop. I don't want to say display because that's not a good way to describe government. But we recognize our own power. Let me put it that way. That's what blood moon, beaver moon is all about. Beavers build their own everything. That's why this one is so important and so pertinent. Is beavers take the natural things that are around them and they build their own everything. So to me, this is very, very apropos for us at this time. And it's going to be a great time to fast. And again, sometimes some Moors do a sun up to sundown fast, some of the full moon fast. Others do water the whole time, lots and lots of water to just cleanse. I generally do water and sea salt that I harvest, my own sea salt that I get from the sea down the way, where I boil the water and pull the salt out of it and consume that during my fasting because it helps make my body more alkaline. It cleanses the flesh. If you want to know more about that, there's a book called The Salts of Salvation that is out there in PDF format, and it tells you how the salts work with the moon and with our signs to cleanse and to bring back ancient information, ancient memories, ancient energies that all we needed to do was activate within us. It just helps ourselves remember. Not to say that, not to say that if you don't have sea salt that you won't remember, because you will, you still will. We just find it to be helpful in keeping us alkaline and calm and all of that, because it works with us. It's actually salt minerals. And as we continue to take complete control of our vast estate in the way that we have done it, we're going to be moving in that direction at some point to get the sea salt out. But in the interim, we've shown how to do it yourselves. If you're near a salt body of water and you want to go and take that water, bring it home and boil it all the way down to the salt, and you'll have salt down at the bottom. Take that, harvest it. It doesn't take much to cleanse, okay? And so all Moors can even have sea salt at this time. And what we've been hearing in the media, quote unquote, is that even the fresh bodies of water that were originally salt bodies of water are turning back to salt bodies of water. Okay, and it's being done and we're going to have plenty of fresh water and all of that. We know that, yes, the pink salt as well. Indeed. Yes. So so we're going to be doing our Beaver Blood Moon National Full Moon Fast. So every full moon, every month, we do a fast, a 3-day fast. We fast the day before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and the day after the full moon. Okay. Some people fast from negative energy. They just spend that 3-day period away from all negative energy, or learning to just be quiet when the negative energy comes. Just don't say anything. Others stay away from things like coffee and, tea or sugar or whatever. It's however you feel led to fast. Some fast from stress, in any event. This is the time where the universal energies work with us and with our bodies even more so to accelerate all that we are doing. Okay, so even just meditating more than you normally would during the 3-day period that means we're all on the same page. And I will say this, that I am absolutely just honored and amazed at how many nations are fasting with us during the 3-day period, because that was what we did back in the day. All of the nations at earth, we fasted together at some point, generally around the celestials. And not only is it full moon, blood moon time, but there's going to also be a lunar eclipse at the same time. How powerful is that? We know that moon and sun and celestial activity basically just states what's going on with the governments at earth. It just tells what's happening. The beaver moon, that means that the bloodline and the birthright are building. That's why it's a blood moon instead of just a regular beaver full moon. So, the cosmology and astrology of all that we do is right in our faces. It always has been. Now, one thing I want to say before I show you just a couple of other punctuations. Punctuations just meaning things that we have noticed out there that affirm all that we've been saying and doing, and the things that we know are true about us. Every industry, I don't care what that industry was, I don't care if it's beef industry, I don't care if it's milk, eggs, hair products, clothing, shoes, no matter what the industry is, crops, drinks, anything, no matter what the industry is, every industry always knew that when we wake up and say we don't want to be a part of that, they knew that that industry would collapse. They knew that. And now they're actually saying it. And of course they say, oh, the blacks. Well, we rebut that when we see it. But I saw this the other day, yesterday or maybe even this morning. And all it says is, as more Moorish women wean off of the creamy crack, experts predict the complete collapse of the industry. Now, that should tell us that we govern everything. And when we say we don't want no more of that, it's gone. Period. We were governing even in our sleep. Whenever we said, we're tired of doing this or that, then things would switch. Whether it be in the music industry, the fashion industry, the workplace, whatever it is, we were still dictating then, and we're just governing now as usual. We're just doing what comes naturally, governing. No industry can survive if we say no. We're very powerful, and that was even in a fiat setting. How much more when we have our own money now, and we're using our own financial instruments and doing our own banking, governing everything that has to do with us. Who's going to tell us no? No one. No one. So, you are the Lord God. You're the Lord's for the land. Now, and some may have a problem with us saying we're the Lord's and we're the God, but then we'll turn right around and say, I got to pay my landlord some rent. Really? No, not really. We rebut that. That term landlord, where did that come from? The Lord's for the land, the Moors. And there is no other landlord. There is no other Lord but the Moors. There is no other God but the Moors. And let's just let's bring that on home. In the church, and we're not mad at the church. We love Christians. We love the church. We have relatives in the church and all of that. So the church is a part of our vast estate as well. But even in the church, they would say that God is in you. Well, if God is in you, what does that make you? That makes you God too. But they didn't say it that way, even though it's in the Bible. Is it not written in your law that ye are God? So we just say it freely. Because we know it's true. And so, again, anything, whether it be courts, whether it be policy enforcers, whether it be hair products, whether it be shopping of any kind, whether it be grocery shopping, clothing, conveyances, whatever it is that we say, the whole earth will go along with that, because those are our resources in the first place. Those are our resources in the first place. And not only that, though, according to the Circle 7, because we're not tyrants, we are good lords. God is a good God. Yes, she is. That's all of us. And so I just wanted to point that out, because they're stating the obvious. They're stating what they couldn't state before. Okay, but this wake up is real. Okay, and then there's something else that came up. A bank holiday. Now we know that's not a king. We know that that's the subject of the Moors. And I ran out of time before. Wait a minute, I can fix that. Hold on, let me fix it real quick. Because we're not gonna let that go either. We're not even gonna let it slide. Does anyone know what the real purpose of a bank holiday?
Islam. Is that when
Islam
they create is that when they create banking laws?
That's when we create banking laws. Yes,
Islam.
But we do that all the time anyway. Islam, Empress.
Well, because of the overstanding of the bank and the river and the water, I would say that it was a day that we gave thanks to the land and the water that provided for us, and it was a commemoration day.
So both of those are correct. There's other meanings for that as well, for a bank holiday as well. Those are correct. There are others reasons for a bank holiday. Anyone know what's really being done when they quote unquote declare a bank holiday? So, Islam.
You know what? I just looked something up on Islam. And you know what? It disappeared. But it says here, the definition of a bank holiday is a weekday on which banks are closed by law. It's a legal holiday. The term is used in the UK, its former territories, and a small handful of other European countries. And it says, while both bank holiday and public holiday can be days off. But you know what? This came up, but then I saw something that said they didn't exist before 1871, but I lost it. So
correct.
Maybe I should hush and allow you to continue. But that was what was really jumped at me, because it said they didn't exist before 1871.
They didn't, because banks were not operating insolvently before 1871. And that's actually what I was looking for right there.
Okay.
So whenever they have a bank holiday, all they're doing is shutting down and saying, are the Moors ready to start banking yet? A bank holiday, they've been having them since 1871, but they became more frequent in after 1933, because every time we would start getting active and doing things, they would say, okay, well, when the Moors start banking, we have to stop banking because we're not really doing banking because we're insolvent. That's what they're saying. They're insolvent. Why are they banking? A bank is a contract. Why are they banking? We do it by affidavit. So it's really kind of like not a contract. But again, you can see that it's a system. We don't have to pick up the phone and contract with anybody. That's our system. And so a bank holiday is when they close by law in all of the banking laws, earthwide actually, or worldwide. When a bank is insolvent, they're actually supposed to go out of business. They're supposed to stop doing business altogether. The banking holidays are when they close down and say, okay, are the Moors gonna be using the banking system? Because the two cannot be doing that at the same time, for any extended period of time. So when they close, all they're doing is waiting to see if we declare something, if we make a proclamation. And they are predicting, quote unquote, their doom. And I'm putting that in quotes because they really can't speak, because bankrupts can't talk. They're mute. That's why they need attorneys, in fact, to speak, living Moors to do that. But banks cannot, any insolvent or bankrupt corporation can't do business at all, especially when a solvent bank comes and says, okay, the system belongs to the solvent. So what they've been doing is every time we get to a certain point in this whole nationality piece and all of that, especially around the time that our prophet was here, they were doing bank holidays every other month, every quarter, just about. Because at any time, they could have said, okay, we got our own money, and now we're using the system. We're putting our money into the banking system, the lawful money, like what we showed you today. We're putting lawful money in there. So don't be surprised if they say, oh, so-and-so Bank of America is closed. But then you go online and you can still access your account. You can still upload documents and you see your receipts being tallied. And then you're using your cards, and cards is coming every 4 years being issued out, and everything seems like it's on autopilot because it was before they came, and it's been that way. They just pretended like they were doing something with all of that. But they weren't. They were just issuing paper and editing it and tweaking it a little bit so that we wouldn't realize that that's not even valid paper. It's not valid. Those places don't exist. Those corporations are dead. They're dead. That's why we have no problem being ourselves when it comes to the documentation. You know, we showed you where, for example, let's go back to this one fraudulent document here that they issue. That says right here in the upper right-hand corner, it says City of Federal Way. Well, that's not the land. We know that's not the land. Okay. So what did we do when we issue our document, our final receipts? We are Federal Way. Just a minute. Let me go over to that side over there. Oops. Messing up my document. Let me get off of that pen, that pencil. Okay. Yeah. So this land, Federal Way land, is solvent. It has all that it needs, and now the budget is being established. And all we have to do is look at what the failed corpses were doing and reconstruct it. Period. That's it. And then publish, and notify, and then show that you're competent to do those things. We're competent to do, we've been doing everything anyway. It's kind of like in the Biblios Heliotech when it says that when the heir is young, they're treated like one of the servants so that they can learn everything. And they may not even know they're an heir until they grow up and realize, and someone says, and they get their coronation or crown, and someone says, you know, you might have thought that you were one of the servants because we treated you like that, but you're really the heir to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. So now that you know everything, you even know how to treat others who may not be the heirs. You know how to treat them because you grew up with them. And now you know how to run everything. You can do all of these things. You know, you experienced all of the same things, and most of us got it a little harder than others. And that's why, Moors, when we thought we were blacks, that was by design that things seemed like it was harder for us. We had to do 5 times more work and be 20 times more competent to get half the pay because they knew we were the heirs all along. And they knew that that would build character in us. And some of us really suffered. You know, we're the heirs. And, you know, we have eternal life. We can come back at any time. You know, so now you know why. Now you know why you've been through so much. Does that make things any more palatable for you? For some, it won't. They'll still be mad about what they went through. But when they get over being mad, the estate will open all the way up because you'll realize why it had to be that way. It had to be that way, but we could not be destroyed. We couldn't be destroyed. It's impossible to destroy the heirs because we actually do have to govern this whole earth, all of us together. So, with that being said, bank holiday, that is to state that, you know, that they're insolvent, so they close generally for 3 days. They were closing previously, but they've been shut down since 1933, really. It's just been some custodians there doing things. And then whenever we gave them a title that does not belong to them, and that's why they don't want the title, because they know who the heirs are. If you call them a police officer, they're going to be very ugly about that, because they want you to know when you wake up, you have to know that they don't have any titles but subject. They don't want any titles but subject. So that's what a bank holiday is for, is to say, okay, are the Moors ready? Yes, we're ready. We're ready to govern our finances honorably and use our courts to do everything. Our courts. And all courts are our courts, by the way. All courts are subject to our Article 3 courts. Another something that is going on out in the ethers that just affirms who we are. I'm not sure if you all heard that Tesla and many of the other corporations that are actually properly chartered are accepting gold and silver in payment, or whatever it is that they offer. I guess those removal memos did what they were supposed to do. And that's all that's really saying. And then I pulled up some states and companies aligned with the Constitution for the United States, all states. And here's the thing, even ones that are not listed here, all states accept gold and silver in payment of debt. Okay? And gold and silver is legal tender. And also the things that we showed today where Moorish sovereign delarium, gold back Moorish sovereign delarium is going back and forth and doing what it needs to do. Same thing. It has to be issued by our state, because at our state, gold, silver, Moorish sovereign delarium, and fiduciary money. All of our liens are denominated in gold and silver and whatever the heirs say they're denominated in. But these right here are saying, and you can add Washington to that list too. And remember, Moors, this list is saying South Carolina. Is not saying state of South Carolina and state of Louisiana and state of Tennessee. What does that mean? That in order to use gold and silver, if you're a subject, you need to be in subject status. If you're a Moor, you need to be in your proper status and your proper person in order for this to be valid. And then you just enforce it. Here is a link to this story right here, where they're saying more states pushing to make gold and silver legal tender. And this story is old. It's from April 30th, 2021. Okay? So now you know that during that time that they called, quote unquote, the virus, that more was going on than was being put out there widely. Okay? Here, and then I went online and just pulled up a few. I went to Google and Googled corporations accepting gold. Tesla now accepts gold in payment. And then there were quite a few others also, which means that the Constitution is their charter. So, you know, all of the work that we've been doing, Moors, it's here. It's time. We, you know, this is our time. This is our time. This time belongs to the Moors. From now to eternity, into perpetuity, nunc pro tunc, all of that. This is our time. So another something that's just a little side note. We just celebrated Halloween. And we were telling you before that whenever you see a word that starts with H but it has hala or Allah in it, then the original meaning generally is pointing to Allah or some sacred something that has to do with us. Halloween is no different. Names of cities, like here they have a city called Walla Walla. No joke, it's Walla Walla. It's spelled Allah, but with a W at the beginning. Well, we already know that that's an ancient marker, and that when we go there, we're going to see more pyramids. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a gold pyramid in the middle of the place. I wouldn't be surprised. I just wouldn't. Because and then there's a place in Oregon called Molalla, Oregon, and there they have ancient soda water springs. What is the purpose of the soda water there? One drink of it, and it will clean your body out completely very shortly, almost instantly. And that's what the natural soda water is for, is to keep the air clean while we are in this dimension. So those who have, issues with things like dis-ease of some kind, Malala is a great place to go to get you some natural soda water. They have the soda springs there, where you can freely go and get as much as you like, and then just spend some time fasting and cleaning yourself out. Okay, but you can do that again with the sea salt and the water too. And every one of us has salt bodies of water near us. And for those who are healthy, it's good for us to just fast and cleanse to ensure that we stay that way, And so that's what our fasting things are all about. Look at what we're manifesting. Because none of this would have happened if we had stayed asleep, which we never would have done that. We were always going to wake up so that these things can manifest. Halloween, and here's something that I pulled from Wikipedia. Less commonly known as Halloween or All Hallows Eve or All Saints Eve. Well, when you're talking about saints, you're talking about the Moors. Yep. So with that being said, are there any other questions, comments, anything? I know that, and I'll say this even about back to the banking piece and the liens and things. There was a noble, and I won't state his appellation, but I will send honors to him, and he will know in the spirit realm that I'm honoring him. There was a noble who at one point showed us how he alluded to the fact that you could take liens into a bank, but they would always try and give you fiat to do whatever it is. And they know if you take the fiat that they can come back and retaliate and say, no, you owe us now. You're a debtor, and slap some debt on you. And that was after talking with that noble some years back, that was about 3 years ago, I spoke with that noble. And that's what let me know that, yeah, we have to have our own money, because, our liens have to be done according to the law that we're enforcing. And so this way that we had to clean out the system first. We had to do that. The system had to be cleaned out first. And that's why you keep seeing them yelling and screaming, talking about, the banks are going to crash, and you see a bunch of people outside, locked out of things, locked out of banks and things like that. That system is, and it's not even a system, it's just paper. That paper is no longer valid. And there are some who are so fast asleep that they don't think that there's anything going on. But, that's why we have a third eye that is open, which is actually our first eye. We see in the spirit realm, and then we activate accordingly. Are there any other questions, comments, etc., with regard to any of the demonstrations that we've done? Just know that look how long it took us with regard to even the conveyance demonstration, where we're now finding out that the way is being made for us to do those things. So your demonstrations, any demonstration that you've ever done, that demonstration was not, the demonstration was, let me put it in those terms, your demonstration was definitely successful. You just need to add a few more things to it. Islam nobility.
Yes, Melia Ray Bay. My sister, two things that comes to train. I'm trying to get on to see it visually, the video, but it's saying the password's not working. This is my first time here.
Mm-hmm.
I go by Melly Mel on Facebook. I friended you and I sent you something in Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
I want to declare my nationality.
Okay.
I need guidance in that. And my house was foreclosed on last month, and I prayed and saw a video of yours where you talked about getting it back. But I want to put, like you shared earlier, about putting the proper steps in and going about it. I got plenty of time before I have to leave. It is a power greater than myself is doing for me something. I know I'm going to come back and get it. But I definitely, I've been looking around, secure party creditor, this or that. My heart says this is the way. So I need to connect and learn the way properly. With that, I say peace, love, light, and wellness.
Islam. Peace to you, nobility. We are so honored that you're here. And we thank you for speaking up and saying something. We have a nationality video on YouTube where you can look at that video, and the documentation is under the video for nationality. A name change in judicial proclamation. There are several places that you can go to get those documents. They're out there. There's one of the places that you can go is, again, our video on YouTube. And if you could see the chat, I would put the link to the video in the chat for you.
How can I get the video, my sister?
So
it would not that password go through.
What password? It's 368903 is the password to the access code to get into the meeting. 368903.
On the call, but the video, video one, I put Light Bay, Moorish National 1. I tried it from the link, from everything. It just wouldn't. But listen, I hit you up on social media. Whenever you get a chance, hit me up so we can connect. And this is my first time here, and I definitely plan on being here every Sunday. Thank you so much for your time and energy, my sister.
Sure.
Peace and love.
I'll go out there and look, and thank you for telling me, because I don't usually check the inbox because it can be a bit overwhelming. But I will specifically go and look for yours and send you the link to the nationality video with some other information as well on other nationality documents that you can get. And again, your nationality is free. You should not be pulling out any fiat to do anything, because everything, we can all do it ourselves. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much. And again, we're absolutely just honored at your presence and that you're here. Thank you for being here.
Islam.
Anyone else? Islam.
And I just want to ask on the speeding
demonstration.
And you paid with the Moorish sovereign delarium.
Mm-hmm.
That process is where we email between. Is that the process? I mean, can you just sort of clarify that one for me?
Sure. So I took Moorish sovereign dollarium that I have here and deposit it in the bank that I have here.
Okay.
It's an honors system. It went into the court bank from my own personal dollarium to the court bank.
Okay.
And then I just noted it on the documentation. It's an honor system.
Okay. So, for instance, then, if I have some invoices that I have been sent by some for some actually one of those things is my actual seal, but some other things. So then, in order for me, and I've liened them. I have to do the bank part then, because I've liened the bank, but I haven't done, the follow-up and sent everything into the bank. So I have to do that piece. So then I would take all of those invoice amounts, or one by one, whichever way, and deposit each of those figures, that amount in Delarium, into the court's bank.
Yes.
I can absolutely stamp paid and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And then at some point, and then from there on, I then can provide those or notification to the custodians.
Yes.
And it should be boom, boom, straightforward. I mean, and I would copy the lien and all of the other things.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've seen them, and I do believe I've done a court action on them. If it's something that if there's something else in there that I lien, but I would make sure I do the court action first and follow the process. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
We are who we say we are.
And may I just add, I actually, and this is, if I may, just...
Yes, Empress.
I actually went to the post office where I had issues trying to get something done. And I actually looked at the video because I had videoed that. There was no actual discussion about fiat or anything. But anyway, I digress. And I had I had 10 envelopes, and they all had been prepaid. And so I went ready with my little court action and everything else. The young lady behind the counter, the custodian, took them, picked them up, counted them, and I said, and she said that. I said to her, it's prepaid, everything is there, I'm sending these, it's government mail. She picked them up, she counted them, she says, 10? I said, yes. And she took them without even a squawk or a question and I have to say, I was, I've stuff in the mailbox, I've done, but I'm telling you, and this is somebody I have a little history with. It was absolute. I mean,
in subject status.
Hello. And I have to just share that because it was,
surprising to say the least, Tom.
It was because I went with my, I was ready. Not to be in a war, but I was ready and prepared with what I needed to do to set the stage and the jurisdiction and all of those other. I didn't even have to. Every time, one more demonstration, one more presentment, and the truth just keeps on, shining.
Yes.
So I just anyway, I shall yield, but I had to share that for everyone, for myself and for everyone, because, and I'm in Jamaica, I'm in the islands, I'm in the American islands, and the labels and everything else state United States, and everybody says sort of, no, it can't possibly be, nah. But anyway, there you are. So wanted to put
Empress, when we're ready, the ancestors say, okay, we don't have to test you. They only test us when they say, oh, you need to pick it up in that area a little bit more.
And I have to just affirm because it's I'm walking, I'm living it, I'm breathing it, and so I thank you, Matondo Mamingi, and I
Matando Mamingi. Izola. Isola. Don't forget that.
Zola Malembe Yezola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Islam. I got it, Empress. It's all in my heart. I love that. I just love it. You know, things, we had stated about a year and a half ago that things were going to get easier for us. We just had to keep going. Yeah. And now, oh man, you haven't seen anything yet, Moors. Wait until next year. I mean, the things that are coming. It's kind of like this. You know how, like, when you were, probably 10 or 11 years old, and there was this bully coming up the street, and you knew the bully was going to pick on you, but then you see the bully's energy change, and they get really nice, and you're wondering, well, wait a minute, why are they so nice all of a sudden? But you didn't see that behind you was your father or your mother or your older brother or sister was back there, and they showed their face. And you didn't see them, but the bully is like, oh, hi, how you doing? Have a good day, bye. You know, well, that's actually the ancestral energies. We're never alone. We're never alone. Never. I don't care where we are never alone. Never. And the energies recognized in the spirit realm. We come with it. It's in our hearts. We come with that energy. Our heart is a chakra that accesses the spirit realm, or actually it's the other way around. The spirit realm accesses this realm through our heart chakras, through all of our chakras. And that's why fasting and sincerity is so important, because the fasting and the sincerity, no spirits will challenge that. None. And that's what peace is all about too. Because see, the more we speak peace, you're talking about taking complete dominion over any adversarial things. You have no foes. You have no foes when you're peaceful. And if you keep putting that peace out there, almost it's a weapon. It's a weapon. Almost. It's like a weapon. Humility, sincerity, and peace is like a weapon. Ooh, you're talking about protection, and you're talking about no foes, none. That's it. It's a wrap. It's done. Earth-wide, because of what the Moors are doing. Earth-wide. Earth-wide. The whole earth had to stop what they were doing when we said stop. But there's a way to say it. You can't just yell stop and be crying and la la la. You can't. There's a way to do it. It's through the law, paperwork, the documentation, us coming together and unifying like this. Because there's an energy here that is, this energy cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped, and there's no one who would dare challenge it. Why? Because we're not at war. We're not at war. People can argue by themselves, but they can't argue if there's no one to argue with. The estate is ours.
That is a fact, yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, some people, when they really come to war and you don't even, that's when they blow their little heads up.
Yes.
You know, that's the truth. I've seen it.
Yes. They come to war and you just grinning and smiling. But you got the law now. You're not stupid. You got that law going.
You get what I mean? That's it.
Yes.
Listen, I know from, I know I'm living.
Yeah. Yes, Empress. Yes.
I know. Yeah. Don't engage.
I can smile and say, what is your name? I can smile and say that, because that's a court action right there.
That's it. And it's
and
funny,
then start asking questions.
It's funny because that is something I mean, just because I'm curious anyway, I want to know who I'm talking to. Yeah. And there are certain people who get offended that you're actually even asking. And it's when it was made clear that this is a court action that I can even get to see why depending on what their frequency is, why that would be an offense to them.
There it is.
And so, yeah, it's powerful. It is powerful when you know who you are. And you are even who you are when you don't know who you are. And that's another piece of it.
That's the crazy part. Yeah.
You don't necessarily know the bits, but everything, your movement, how you function, and in fact, others can necessarily see it, but you may not know it, but you're just catching up, and in time you do. You do. I yield now. Thank you.
Yes, Islam.
Islam.
And just one quickly, Empress, someone sent me something in the inbox. The answer to what you sent is absolutely yes. That is how delarium is used. When we reconstruct, we reconstruct using delarium. Gold back, or you can reconstruct using gold. The Constitution says gold and silver. Did I feel like I owed a debt to my government? Not even then was there a debt. It was just a matter of honor and wanting to use our court system to do things, to get things done. So yes, someone asked me in the inbox, does that mean that when documents are reconstructed that we're using delarium when we reconstruct? Yes, because it is custom and usage on the land for us to have our own money. That's ancient customs and usage. Ancient customs and usage is written into the law everywhere, and it states that we don't shuffle around debt notes, that we use lawful money. Islam.
Islam.
Yes,
as the alarm sound as you said that. Islam. That part. And so, was we supposed to vote on something today? Because I thought you had mentioned that we were supposed to enact something today, and you.
Oh, it was just the court action that we did at the beginning, showing how to use what we use.
Okay.
It was just participating in that court action. All of us participating in the court action. And the questions that were asked and all of that. But if you does anyone want to weigh in on the court action? There it is, Empress.
Mm-hmm.
There are those sirens.
Yes, Islam.
See, the golden story is, let me tell y'all about the sirens. Hold on a minute. Let me tell y'all about the sirens. Whenever we're saying something that's really powerful and that really is to the point, the sirens come. And that's even when I'm on the phone with other Moors and we're talking and we're saying things. We'll say certain things and certain words and make certain declarations, proclamations, pronouncements, and when those alarms come on, we know we hit the nail on the head. That's what the alarms are all about. So with that being said, Islam Empress.
This is Rosetta L. I think the court action was great because I have a cousin that lives in Oregon Territory,
mm-hmm.
and I've been sharing her, with her this process since I started. And she received last week a supposed bill for a traffic ticket that was never delivered to her from 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, trying to explain to her she doesn't know it or anything. She's challenging it in their court because she's, still hasn't, really come into knowing all this.
Mm-hmm.
But, I asked her to find out what are the statute of limitations under their quote unquote laws. And and I found it after she told me it's 20 years. I'm like,
wow.
That's ridiculous. So I'm going to make sure she watches this video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it has to be issued from a court, and she's the court. You're the court.
Right.
See, the people, that's the people. Yeah. Yeah. You know, speaking of that, Empress Rosetta, and thank you for bringing that up about you know, those who are trying to do things without declaring their nationality, because I looked at, and I know the ancestors had me look at this because for that very reason. I looked at the sentencing portion, just a brief snippet of the sentencing portion for the brother Darrell Brooks, I believe is his name, and he is the one who he appears to be a Moor. I don't know if by bloodline and birthright he is, but he was the one who they say in the media that he ran his conveyance into people during a parade or something like that. And several people were killed or supposedly, allegedly. And I've not been paying that much attention to that simply because of we have things going on here that we needed to focus on. But I knew at some point the ancestors would have me look at that. And when I looked at it, the ancestors made it very clear to me that he knew the law. If you listen to what he was saying, he knew how to quote the quote-unquote common law. He quoted common law, he quoted natural law, and knew how to use it, and he used it in other words, even though they sentenced him, that case is actually, their processes were all wrong for even sentencing him because he was still quoting the law. But you can't question the processes if the status has already been established. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't know he doesn't know he's a Moor. But had he known he was a Moor, they would not have been able to sentence him that way. They couldn't have spoke over him at all. His case would be done by Moors at that territory or here, But I watched the sentencing, and even then he was just quoting the common law and natural law. But if the status is not right, then they know they're not under any obligation to hear any of that other stuff. Because believe it or not, their processes start and stop with status. And they don't care if what you're saying is right, if your status is wrong. Why? Because status has been put on the public record. Islam, Empress.
Excuse me. I was saying I heard that, it's called a seance when you go into court, in their court.
Yes, and if you're even speaking, you're calling forth the dead, the dead, the dead. And in that jurisdiction, quote unquote, in a dead jurisdiction, the dead they run that until the living speaks competently. You have to speak competently, know who you are, et cetera, because and we saw that firsthand. And when I say firsthand, I'm talking right in our faces while we were speaking, doing a jail demonstration in 2021, February the 8th through the 19th or the 18th. We did a 10-day POW demonstration in those. Listen. We had to turn that place into an Article 3 court. So it was done right there on the spot in the cell. We have a choice. And do you know those people couldn't even come into the cell because we turned it into a court and stated who we really were. And we did that for 10 days straight. No one could get a word in edgewise because we just kept doing court acts. Soon as we see a face, soon as somebody starts talking, all rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a Sovereign Living Ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan Court Action. I am Sovereign Living Justice Pauline Denise Ritchie and Capitis Diminution Nolo in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes, no United States corporation, company, citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, nor any derivatives thereof, has personam jurisdiction over me, nor over any Moors. What is your name? Do you understand that no United States corporation, company, citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, has jurisdiction over any Moors? Do you understand that you are hereby bound by the Constitution for the United States, 1789, 1791? Do you understand that? And I didn't care what they were saying. I didn't care. Didn't matter. Sometimes they would say their name. Other times they would continue to try and cast spells to scare you off of what you're doing. And the ancestor said, no matter what they say, finish the court action. Don't just start it and be thrown off. Finish it. And whatever you say goes. So I would finish it every time. Even if they had gone on down the way, I finished it. I made sure I finished it. And groups of bullies standing outside the door in uniform, waiting to come in with mace and clubs and whatever else they had out there, couldn't even come in. They couldn't come in because we did court on them right there and bound them by the Constitution, because that's a spiritual thing too. That's spiritual. And that's another reason why when you said seance, when in our courts we speak into the living. The living. And if you ain't living and you're behaving as a corpse in there, then you are subject to us. And I don't care if that's on the side of the road, out there, wherever. Doesn't matter. And that's another reason why, I see people, Moors that are sleeping. They don't know they're Moors. They haven't declared their nationality. They've been, and I want to say that I honor their attempts to get to know the law. And sometimes they pair up with quote unquote supposed sovereign citizen groups and things like that, which there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen, so that they can learn what they know and things like that. But every time they do, the people in those groups always know who they are. So they'll teach them only so much. There's only so much they'll say, and then they'll stop. They'll stop talking until they can meet later afterwards without the Moor being there. So nationality is the order of the day, period. No matter where you are, our courts are always speaking. Grocery store, mailbox, post office, wherever, all of that's on our land. Our courts always speak. We must. And here's the thing. We never have to go face to face with them because we don't have to. But when we do, know how to use the tools that you have. Know how to be ready to do court actions and things like that. Know the language. The language is at the beginning of all of our everything that we do. Every time we have a meeting, we do the court action language from the beginning. From the very beginning. And I was about to show the court action language. That everyone know that this language is the language that we use. So just one moment. The things that we've shown you is proof that everything that we do, everything that we say, here's the court action language. Just 1 second, Yep, this is the court action language right here. We put this at the beginning of all of our affidavits. We put this at the beginning of, we say it at the beginning of all of our meetings. We state it at the beginning of all of our meetings. Because everything that we do, we're always speaking the law. we don't even speak without speaking the law. And that's something we didn't know in our sleep, but it's the truth. Everything we say and do is the law. So with that being said, if there is nothing further from this Islam.
Last week or the other day, you said you're going to show us some ancient seals. And then I want to know if the treasury seal you spoke about is the same one that's on the fiduciary letter that we did initially?
I'm still speaking to the ancestors about the 2 seals that they showed me and about proper use of them. I'm going to hold off on showing those 2 seals just because I want to make sure I hear from them one more time about the seals and about the use of the seals and how they should be used, because the seals that they gave me specifically said, these are here. You need to see these seals. You all know that I give out everything. I have put everything out there. These 2 seals are the 2 seals that when these seals are shown on documents, any financial document, that document where bank credits are concerned and everything, they're honored, period. So, but I don't. Let me hear in the spirit realm again how the ancestors want them to be used before I publish them, so that competent use of them, of these 2 seals, will be done. And I know that you all are competent, but not everyone who watches the videos will be. And again, I've never let that stop us from putting things out. I just feel that with these 2 that they gave, I never want to be proprietary with anything because everything belongs to all of us. I do know that there are some who are not awake yet. And if, this is the first time that I've had this question for the ancestors about the seals, about these seals, these 2 seals. I've never had that question before. They know that I don't have a problem publishing stuff because I've put everything about me, everything out there. They know I don't have a problem publishing things because I'm not proprietary when it comes to Moorish science and the things that have to do with us. With the 2 seals that they gave me, I don't know if I'm being tested to, say, okay, can you keep these proprietary and so that what's coming, you can be prepared for what's coming, or I want to hear from them with regard to these 2 seals, because the way that the seals came, the way that they gave me the seals and all of that, I'm feeling that there might be a test in there somewhere, and that there are only certain documents that these seals can go on. And with us moving into 1099s and things like that we craft, I'm wanting to be sure as to the use of the seals. So if you will allow me, Empress Rosetta and Moors, to take a little more time where publication of those seals is concerned to see what the ancestors have to say about them and about their use. But I wanted you to know that I have them. I just need to hear from them in more detail about the use because we don't mind we put everything out there because we know that all Moors need what they need when they need it, in terms of, it's not a need, but in terms of policy enforcers don't wait until, somebody is ready to declare before they pull you over and haul you to jail. I was living proof of that back in 2017, but the ancestors knew I was ready to a degree. So I just want to hear what they have to say further about the appropriate use of these two seals that they gave before I published them. And I've never really done that before. I've never really just, waited and gave it some thought in terms of that, because I knew competently how things should be done, so we put it out there. In this case, I want to be sure, because of the trust that is involved with these two seals and what they mean and where they came from and what they say, so I want to wait until I hear back from the ancestors again some more, and they may just have me do some more study, on the proper use of the seals, the two seals that they gave me. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments or anything of that nature? Islam, Empress.
And I think Empress Rosetta L asked that question about the seal, the treasury seal. And I remember actually when you had mentioned the 1099, you said you put the treasury seal in the box. Unless I'm hearing. So could you confirm which one is the treasury seal then?
I can't, because I've not seen it out there at all. I've not seen these seals anywhere. And I think,
I'm not talking about the seals you were just talking about, but unless I'm I'm a little confused, which I might be. And Rosetta L asked about the treasury seal, and I do recall when you were talking about the 1099 that you created and the box, and it said treasury, and you talked about it not saying United States Treasury, and what she just stated prompted me to remember that you said, or I heard, treasury, and it brought a question to my own head as to which one is the treasury seal. But then later you were speaking, and I thought you said you put the seals, but I could be wrong. So if you could just give a little clarification there.
Yes.
Please.
So I don't like to. So the things that we show on here, and I'll just preface it by saying this: the things that we show on here, I generally demonstrate it beforehand, because if anybody's going to have to demonstrate something and get themselves, demonstrate something, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
And so when I said about the treasury seals, it is those two seals that I put on.
Okay.
On the 1099 when I uploaded it. So, and I've never used them before. But in my spirit, the ancestor said, for this.
Okay. So that means that document without the treasury seals would still work, though? I mean, do we still use it, or we're not ready because we don't have the treasury seals?
I would say demonstrate it anyway.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because I would have demonstrated it anyway, too.
Well, that would have been my head, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just know that our ancestors, whenever they show us something, they want us to just demonstrate it, and then they'll give us the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. The energy around these two seals is something that I'm having to get used to.
Okay.
Because I've not had this kind of energy before, and even when the energy tried to come previously, I was like, ancestors, I don't want to keep anything from anyone. I want all of this information out there. So they gave me permission to just go. And with these two seals, they're saying, hold on a minute, pause for a moment with these two, so we can show you how to use them before you put them out there. If you put them out there.
If you do. Okay. And this is good because I had not even put those two seals with what you had said earlier in the treasury seal. So I was confused.
You were absolutely correct. Empress, we are here. You can see. Yes, you are absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Those seals, I've never seen them before. I've never seen them out there. And the ancestors are saying, pause for just a moment with the use of those particular two. Mm-hmm. They are treasury seals. Okay. And I thought we had the treasury seals before, and the ancestors gave us the okay to use those seals that we showed before, because we showed them. Right. We pointed them out.
Right.
And then, not too long ago, they presented these two, and the way that they presented them and everything was like, pause a moment with these two. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, and they are giving me permission to mention them, so that they exist. They just haven't given me the go to publish them until I know how to do it the way they want it done through us. And that comes from our study and from, we go with what the Spirit says.
Yeah, it makes sense. Everything makes sense because I'm sitting here saying, wow, it came out to me.
You are absolutely right.
It was brought up back again now, and now I'm hearing it clearly. So
here's what I'm thinking about it, and this may be where I'm in my spirit. This is what I'm hearing, that we've elevated to a place of self-government where now we don't do clubs and memberships and cards and all of that stuff, but but because we are in the process of the new Moors coming in en masse, mm-hmm. the ancestors are saying, okay, now you're going to have to put some, for example, the ones who are regularly on this call, let's just say, and I'll just use that as an example in this case, at some point very soon we're going to actually all come together and meet as a council. This is what I'm seeing and hearing in my spirit. And as the council and this council would just be to put some things in place so that the en masse is orderly. Everything that we've been putting out, people use it however they want to use it. And that was the point, that we meant for that to be the case. But when you get to a certain point as a nation and as the government, then you have to pull back a little bit and say, okay, how do we make these processes orderly so that those that are coming in, it's a smooth process for them?
And everybody can remain in honor because
and everybody, yes. And I wasn't going to say that, Empress, but that's you are actually articulating what the Spirit is saying to me. I always expect Moors. I take Moors at face value. Everybody's honorable until they prove they're not. And in this case, the ancestors are saying, okay, there is a trust. There is a trust that we all have. And the trust also includes the ancestral energies. So the ancestors are a part of all that we're doing. And so that trust has to be maintained by us, all of us, by all of us. And I'm feeling a sense of trust being established. And I want to be sure that I don't violate that where our ancestral energies are concerned. In the interest of sharing everything, because I share. But you know that, you all know that about me. I've put things out there that when people first saw it, they was like, that's private information. I'm like,
Islam. As you say that, here comes the alarm. They just started up again. Yes. That part. But as to camel off of what you were stating, because I've heard that times and time again from Moors, and they had spiritual gifts as young little people, and how their elders knew this, and they took and they used and they abused the little people's gifts and abilities for their own intensive purposes. It might not have been malicious, it may not have been in heinous or nothing like that, but to the fact that they took, and they used the gifts, and they made promises to the little people who was giving the information, and they never kept their word. And because they didn't keep the word to the little people who was giving the information, the ancestors came and took back the gifts and left the little people without the gifts, because the elders were the ones supposed to be the ones to rear the child and teach the little people on how to be honorable, but they were the ones being dishonorable with the little people's gifts and abilities. And it's the same thing here, as I hear you speak about these gifts and these informations of such things. And, you know, it's true, because to whom much is given, much is required.
It is.
Much is given, much is really required. So we have to be a good steward in everything. And trust is on paper, and it is also in us as a people.
Yeah. Islam.
I have goosebumps.
My spirit agrees with what you're saying and affirms what you're saying. I know that there's some things going on that the ancestors are bringing us together for. You know what I'm saying? The ancestors are bringing us together for, you know, to manifest some things that need to be manifested. And those things that need to be manifested, just one moment, let me see. Those things that need to be manifested, just one moment. Those things that need to be manifested, we want to make sure that whatever it is that the ancestors have for us, that we honor it and cherish it and use it the way they meant for us to use it. So, you know, I've always, I mean, sometimes the ancestors would say, well, you know, hold off on putting that out there, and I would actually argue with them a little bit and say, but the Moors need to know this is important. And they would give me the go ahead to talk about it, you know. But with this part that we're going into, they're saying that those who overstand what I'm saying right now, those are the ones that will go, because they know the value of to whom much is given, much is required. They know the value of it. Not that anyone's trying to hide anything, because y'all know I don't do that. But now, as the government and the nation, the energy on the whole earth is changed now. It is changed. Everything belongs to the Moors. always has and always will, but we know for sure right now that, it's a wrap on anything crazy. So, or anything that's not in alignment, with the law. And so, I just want to be sure. I want to be sure about, and I want the ancestors to know that they can trust me. I probably did Justice Islam. That's fine. In the chat. So I want the ancestors to know that they can trust me, and that as we move to these next levels and things, we know that it has to be orderly because there are so many coming. We don't want to look like bungling. Yes, we know a whole bunch of stuff, but there's no order to it. Yes.
I had to. And
we have all the keys. We have all the keys. Together, we have all the keys. Together, we have all the keys. Unity, staying together, honorability, sincerity, going to bat for one another like we do. So I'm grateful to the empresses who spoke, who get that, who get it, because we have definitely elevated, all of us have, together. And we're coming up on December 21st here shortly, which is a major time for us, and there's going to be some manifestations that happen after that probably nobody was expecting, in terms of how powerful and authoritative and all that we are. But our ancestors know what they're doing.
Islam, we're going to ascend the 33rd degree. Man, I see that more clearly now than ever. Mind you, at Harlem, it is 68 degrees on 11/6/2022 on the Christian calendar year. Okay, that part.
Yeah. That means that there's some manifestations going on over there that's just burning things up. That's just hot.
Islam all day long.
Period. The changes are here. We control everything, and honorability is key, and humility, keeping ego out of the way. And that's another thing I want to make sure, from the perspective of the ancestral energies, that all is well in all areas energetically for us. So we can keep moving, keep ascending, and keep rising and growing together. So our ancestors know what they're doing. I trust them 100%. I have up to now, and that won't change. I will always trust them. And they are within us. They're not way out. Yeah, they out there too, but they are within us. And we have to know that and go with that. So I'm just honored to be in the presence of each and every one of you. Anyone who hears this, anyone who's on this call, it is just such an honor. It is such an honor, because if I had in my sleep, if I could have written down a wish list of how I wanted things to go and who I wanted to do them with, it would have been this right here. I would not have known to even ask for this, to be in the presence of the nobility at earth. It's not that many of us in comparison to all that's out there. For us to come together like this, energetically and in this dimension, I'll just go back to what I read at the beginning of this call and of this Congressional Assembly. It's a wrap. We did it. Now we keep moving. We keep moving. Islam. If there's nothing further, we will adjourn until Thursday, the 10th, and at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for. I'm honored to be the coordinator of this Congressional Assembly, and who could ask for anything more? Islam. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Islam.
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 Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Islam. Islam.
Islam. Peace and love.
Thank you, nobility. Peace and love. Islam.